what to do. There's caffeine on the house, it's active, radioactive. Loving you felt like dying on the operating table, like climbing a ladder till I give up and fall. Like the anesthesia didn't work, and I feel the creation of every scar. Like a movie I'm chained to.
Wait, really quick, guys, I have to tell you about my GoFundMe for my music career. I have a GoFundMe for my music career starting from $0, raising money for ads to grow my audience and to reach record labels. If things grow, then I will eventually be using that money to turn my YouTube demos into full professional real recordings. And help me to go as far as possible. I bet if you guys will do your best to help me and to invest, you guys could probably turn me into the biggest pop star in the world. It's just going to really depend on how much you guys are willing and able to help me. So please do what you can to help, and I love you. Mwah. Bye.
I have 1 penny to buy this iced coffee, but this is everything you gave me. How did you know the gum on the ground was yours if you've never seen it before? There are no refunds for this part of me. Don't forget where you were when we met. I wanted to be liquidated, but they haven't found me yet. I'll spell it out for you when I'm free. There's disrespect in the water and the liquor can. Hello, guys. I wanted to do another twin flame video, but some of the questions again, they're from ChatGPT, but I feel like I asked for a specific type of questions. They're more so I guess therapy type questions. They kind of always are. They're twin flame questions, you know what I mean? It's what's the block between you guys? Even those seem kind of a therapy type question, so then you're okay, that's kind of a lot of information. I do think of that, but I also sometimes just feel willing to do it just because I'm well, what really is in my way, just as a person in general? What really is in my way? I don't know. Are there things in my way? I do think about it, but I am so aware. I feel I'm usually a very aware person of how I come across. That does not mean I'm not willing to make a sacrifice that other people would not, because I don't know why. I'm just so magical, but also sometimes I feel I have to talk about a certain thing or situation to get to the next level, but then I feel I go too far. But then I'm well, at the end of the day, what did I really have to preserve to make me not want to do that? I don't know. It's I would have to have a higher degree of risk and self-preservation to have more stopping me from opening up about too many things, to be honest. It's well, who was gonna see the video? Right now it's probably gonna get 3 views. Who is gonna care? Nobody. Oh, does this change the way I think about things? I think that's inevitable. I think anytime you kind of make any effort to evolve, you start to evolve in the way that you wanted to evolve eventually. I think it just takes a long time, but then to me, I'm well, if I'm willing to put in more effort, what if that makes me evolve as a person faster? Some weird Pokemon. Am I going to... Anyway, the point is, this video might not be the fun one, or some of the questions I already feel are... I'm only answering for me and how I feel, not... And it's not really just twin flame questions, it's it's more of a therapy, what's wrong with you type, I don't know. I already know that some kind of like childhood trauma or something is probably gonna be, I'm not trying to just like trauma them for a video, but like it's like if that's a part of the questions, then I might answer it, probably not fully, but like I might like say part of the answer. So I don't know. So exactly, but it really is like twin flame questions and like that. So again, I was only gonna answer like my answer, so it's not like that, but that's why I'm just saying like I want to kind of like preface the video with like, I realize like to some people they'd be like, that goes too far, like I wouldn't put that on the internet, but the honest answer to like, oh, you feel this way, where did that stem from? And then I'm like, oh, I think from here, here, and here in my life. Like, first of all, most people don't want to watch that kind of content, and that's why it's gonna get 3 views. Well, also I wasn't gonna have money to put on ads for the video, so it's gonna get 3 views, but that's not the point. That's not the point. Also I'm like watching season 2 of Wednesday still. I'm on like episode 7. So lucky I saw some like Taylor Swift Easter eggs, and then I know it's not actually related to me because it's not like that, but like there's certain words that like I was like, oh, I've put that in like an album title before or something, but it's like, obviously I did that after probably when the season came out and stuff, and obviously they filmed it a long time ago, and also I have 0 followers, so it's not about me at all, and I'm not trying to say it is or thinking that it is at all. Like, I am a very like humble person. I don't think the 7 followers that I have would be like from Netflix or something. Like, that's the level of delusional I would have to be to believe that, but I just saw it as like very funny and interesting. But I think the Taylor Swift Easter eggs they have were like intentional, and so yeah, I don't know, the season is very fun, I'm enjoying it, but so I don't know, maybe I'll answer some of the questions and make this an actual video, we'll see. Anyway, this first question is actually the reason why I wanted to preface this video that way and say like, the first question isn't really like a love twin flame question, it's actually just like kind of trauma, because it's like I just decorated a little whiteboard for fun, but I'm like, that's a pretty deep question. It's like, when did I first start associating love with guilt? First of all, you know what, short answers. I'm not gonna like make the answer super long for no reason. I don't think for the most part that I associate right now in my life like love with guilt, but that doesn't mean people didn't try to like set me up for sort of like a losing game with that, or like sort of like a losing battle with that. Like there were probably a lot of situations when I was little where people like, maybe like I heard people say things that were like inappropriate, or like in my family or something people would say something that just sounds inappropriate, but unfortunately my mother is just the person who was the repeat offender of wanting to intentionally say like sexual stuff to me when I was like 6, 7, 8, right? Like 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know. Like just I don't know why. For some reason, my mom definitely allowed herself to perceive me in some inappropriate ways when I was very young, okay? She started to try to, probably at first just in her own mind for whatever reason, but it evolved, right? So she started to try to perceive me, maybe again in her own mind, as like some kind of like free stripper experience, which is crazy considering I was like 6 or something, or maybe 5 when she started to think like that. I don't really know. Maybe she always thought like that but didn't say it. And how did I find out? Well, when I was 6 years old, my mom tried to convince me to be like a free stripper essentially and put on a performance for my little brother who was 3 years old, which I obviously said no to. So I was not like forced to do it or anything, but it put me in a perspective where sorry, again, that's why I tried to like preface the video and not just be like, so this happened, but like it, because I don't know, like it's stressful to talk about, but it isn't like I'm not like feeling like affected by it. But obviously it doesn't mean people didn't try. It does not mean people did not try to make me feel that way. So again, that was crazy, but I think it more so left me feeling like confused by how lucky I must have been to already know that I was wrong, which is why it put me in a perspective where I was like I think years after that I was like, oh my god, like I knew that was wrong, like I'm the one who was able to protect myself from like more trauma than just finding out, oh, my mom thought about me that way, you know what I mean? Like I think by the time I was like 10, 11, 12, I was like, oh my god, like I was like 13, I was like, oh my god, like I knew that was wrong, like that's amazing that I knew that was wrong, but like what if I spent all of the luck I can ever have in my entire life on knowing that was wrong in order to protect myself? Is sort of the weird imbalance. And it was not just an intrusive thought my mom said aloud, because upon me saying no, she said to me, but look at him, he's only a 3-year-old or he's only a 2-year-old. We're 3 years apart, so he was like 2 or 3, okay? And so yeah, so she was like, look at him, he's so young, he's so innocent, like you're gonna ruin him if you don't do it. Because like she had a weird like wanting to be in control of the situation thing of like not me but like my brother being male and young. She saw as like, oh, he's impressionable, like you, like she saw it like she saw it like it's so important the way he finally someday finds out what a woman is or what a girl is. So she said, you're like, again, I was not forced to, I did not do it. I said no, I said that's not me, but it planted the seed in my mind, like what if my mom has like done something terrible to him that like nobody knows about? Like it, I'm not saying that was true because he never said anything, and I'm not trying to like talk about like if my brother has trauma or whatever, I'm not trying to, but like it made me think like if she's willing to say that to me and perceive like a young boy that way, what if like there's like worse stuff that nobody knows about or something just because I said no? Like what if a 2-year-old doesn't know to say no? Like it really like messed with my mind more. But yeah, I said no. It didn't become like that individual incident did not become something bigger, but like she really did say like just you're gonna ruin him if you don't do it, like, you know, someday he's gonna find out like what a woman is, like what a girl is. Like, do you really want him to find out in a really traumatizing way, or do you want him to find out in like a special normal way with his family? I was like, whoa 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 like no. I said like I really knew what I was talking about when I said no, it's not gonna be me, like no thank you, I'm not interested. She was like, okay, and then she just said okay, and that was it. But like she acted like she was gonna be like crying about me saying no. I was like, I'm 6 years old or I'm 5 years old, like I'm just lucky I knew to say no, and lucky that nothing physical happened or was forced to happen just because you decided to try to guilt me over it. And it also made me like, I'm really glad that I was very like guilt proof, like so that's why I don't think I really associate love with like guilt so directly, because I feel like even in that situation, I didn't like take on actual guilt from it because I was very comfortable with just saying no, but just, again, it's not like an intrusive thought somebody just says. That's a very big thing to say to somebody as young as 5, 6 about somebody who's like 2 or 3 years old, you know what I mean? And like just trying to perceive your own family that way is not normal. Children, obviously that would not be normal. Your own children, all of that not normal. All of that like insane. And so I wanted to talk about it because my mom actually made me feel in that moment that I had traumatized her by her finding out that a child could already know that that was wrong. So it set things up in a backwards way where I felt like I started my life by traumatizing my mom by her having to find out that was wrong because of a child, not because she could have already known that was wrong. So, but I was smart enough to already know that was wrong and to hold my ground about that, but that doesn't mean I don't sit here and wonder like, well, where did it come from that I was capable of saying no, also knew that was wrong, and like just, you know, it made me like think like, now I feel like I have a more magical understanding to where it's like, okay, I just have like a lot of past lives, and you know, maybe there were deities who like educated me on something before I was born type situations, because I am very spiritual, but back then I was not spiritual. I was a child. Like nobody talked to me about that stuff, so the only thing I knew was to say no. It just, again, it makes me feel like I already spent, and I always felt this way, like I already spent so much of like the potential luck that I could ever have in life on being able to say no and being able to hold my ground about that. It makes me feel like no wonder I don't have like $1 million, you know what I mean? Like no wonder, because I already spent all of the, maybe I already spent all the luck I had on like protecting myself in that one situation. But yeah, essentially my mom kind of like stopped making it sexual for like a while, but she would still do like, that was like the first time she decided like that guilt tripping would be like normal. The house was like creaking, but ghosts, I don't know. But yeah, that was the first time she decided like fully like guilt tripping for young children would be normal, and that would sort of happen all the time, just only guilt tripping. It just wasn't like of a sexual nature for a long time after that. But yeah, when I was in like middle school, like, you know, if I got like a haircut my mom didn't like, she'd be like, you look like you're trying to be sexy, like you look like you're like a stripper, like, oh, those are your favorite shoes, you're not allowed to wear them anymore because you look like a stripper with that haircut. Like, it makes you like, what? Like, first of all, I'm a child, I did not pay for this haircut on my own, like, what? But whatever, that's sort of the answer for that. Like, I don't feel like I take on like extreme guilt with like love, but like, again, patterns of people trying to do that definitely like existed. But maybe the other questions will be more fun, but yeah, that's sort of how that part was. Anyway, that's the more serious story. Like, I don't think the rest of the questions are like serious. Like, it does eventually evolve into like twin flame questions, and there's kind of like smaller like introspective questions that are a little bit similar, but it's not like, the rest of it's not like trauma dumping. But that part, I was like, I want to preface the video, I do want to do the questions in order, but like I want to preface the video so that it's not just like out of context and weird, because again, I'm only saying that because it's a part of the video, but like, it's also like, why not? It's relevant to the topic, sort of, because of the way that it sort of maybe makes people think about things or wonder about like, well, what was going on? Like, why am I sitting here right now feeling like twin flames are real, and that I am fine with saying that, and I'm not taking on like guilt for the concept of someone being like, no, I'm not your twin flame. And then I'm still sitting here like, here's a list of twin flame questions and like my answer for it, da 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 da. You know, like it's like, okay, how did I, like, what's the thing that made me get to the point where I'm like, oh well, I could do that. It's not like the end of the world. Like it's not that weird, you know. Well, I feel like I've seen weird, and I feel like I've seen not weird, and so I feel like this is more on the not weird side. But like, it doesn't mean it's not like that. I don't feel like it's like moderately weird, but it's just not. It's not the same thing, which is why I'm more comfortable with like exploring how I feel on camera, because why not? Like it's not gonna be like as emotionally difficult as like some of the things I've already experienced, so I'm like, why not talk about it? Like it's not gonna end my world if I talk about it, because it's not gonna change anything really, or it would not in a negative way further than what the situation is. So anyway, I'm gonna do the next question, but yeah, they get lighter than that, or my answers do, because when I saw that first question, I was like, I know exactly how I'm gonna answer that, but again, it's gonna be weird if I don't say it the right way. Okay. Question 2. And to me, this is a very different question, but it seems similar, possibly, but I'll explain. It's not like, you know, exactly the same, but whatever. Okay. Okay, the question is, do I feel guilty for things I actually did, or for simply existing imperfectly? So, I guess like I would say, first of all, existing imperfectly definitely is something that I feel like I have overall like anxiety, stress, guilt about, but I feel like I try to like work through that and not hold on to it. But definitely, but here's the thing. I feel equally guilty for the things that I say that are terrible, which everybody has like bad moments where you're just like stressed, right? What I mean by that is like, say you like lash out at someone, like I feel like I have or like if I'm mad at somebody, and you know what I mean, like equal playing field, you feel like you want to get them back really quick, and you're just gonna say something that you didn't realize was so like harsh, right? Okay, but I feel like I have equal guilt over that as I do over like an intrusive thought that like I don't say or express. Like I feel like I'll have equal guilt over both. And so the problem with that is like, well, you can't really, it's not fair to hold yourself accountable for the part you didn't choose, but that's what I feel like I do. So then how can I really feel guilty for the times that I'm not like what if I accidentally say something mean to somebody, or like what if I lash out at them? What if I feel like, oh, like you said this, well, I'm gonna like be immature and get you back, you know? Like what if I try to do that? But then it's like, well, now I don't feel more guilty for the time that I lashed out at somebody than I do for the intrusive thought that I didn't get to choose, that I never expressed. It's like, well, now I feel more guilty for the intrusive thought that I never expressed than the thing that I chose to say that sounded mean. So it sort of reframes the brain, but also if I'm standing next to somebody who has a guilty aura, then I feel guilty while I'm around them, and then I accidentally take on that emotion and remember it as a memory that I feel like I did something wrong, but I didn't. And so it's sort of like, it reframes the brain to where you feel like you cannot feel guilty for the actual like wrong, or like oh, like in like a twin flame situation, right? Say you try to like, you feel immature in the moment, you're like, oh, well, you just said something mean to me, like I'm gonna try to say something mean back and like get you back, but like that's not really how it works, because then you're just both hurting yourselves a lot. But it's hard to like always not mess up, right? It's very hard to not mess up. So hard when you're processing trauma, but then you feel like, oh, well, they got to say something mean to me, but like that's not what matters. But then it's like, well, what if in the moment I forget that's not what matters, right? But then it's like, well, that's not the part that I really could feel guilty for, because then if I'm standing next to somebody who just has a guilty aura, I'm gonna remember that as the guilty moment, not, or like the weird moment, or like the moment that I think I was wrong for when I didn't do anything. And then I'm not gonna remember to feel guilty for like a conversation with like twin flame, for example, right? Like, then I'm not going to remember that as the negative. I'm going to remember like the interaction with somebody who had a guiltier energy than me as the time that I was wrong, which that doesn't even make sense. But then it's like, well, if I can't control what the energy feels like, how do I know if I'm trying to like be okay with the sometimes in our world of energy, we feel energy around people who are like a beacon of that type of energy, not the literal situation where we had a conversation where we were not as nice as we could have been. Or maybe both people were a little bit wrong, but then, oh, I regret that one thing I said, but, well, I don't feel a guilty energy around that one thing I said. I just know that I should have said something nicer than that. But then it's like, oh, around this person I had a really guilty energy, but it wasn't my fault. It was their aura, and like they were like a beacon of that negative energy. So it changes, I think. I don't know if it's trauma or just the way our world functions, but it makes people like, well, how could I possibly be the one who was in the wrong for like just being in some weird environment that felt like negative energy? So I don't know if everybody experiences that feeling or not, but once you do, it's like confusing. Okay, the next question sounds dramatic, but I feel like my answer won't be that serious. Okay, well, it will, but like not like bad. Okay, I just decorated the board so much wasting the markers, but it was fun. What do I secretly believe I ruined in the twin flame connection? So I think when you have a twin flame, it's almost like, well, at least if the other person's the runner in the twin flame, they're the one who like, you know, is like, no, I don't want that. Okay, so, and then if you're the chaser, you're like, oh, well, I still do, because I'm your twin flame, not because I was trying to make it seem disrespectful or something weird. So yeah. Like, I do feel like I'm self-aware, but I think having a twin flame, you kind of can easily feel like you ruined something. Like, of course, I feel like every wrong thing I ever said, oh, I must have like ruined the connection in some way, or like, but it almost, I think, and then, you know, if your twin flame is like saying something that sounds negative to you, then you also feel like you're taking on like, oh, I feel like when you said something negative to me, I feel like I ruined the connection. Like, it's like you almost feel like the inverse too. At the same time. But it almost helped in a way to have like the negative side of the twin flame experience, because at the end of the day, it is supposed to be like a healing connection, and so even the negative sides like trigger you, but then you're sort of like in an opportunity to work through it. If it is a real twin flame, it leads to an opportunity to work through it, and that's what sort of differentiates it from like, you know, a karmic relationship where it's only negative forever and it never triggers you in a way that makes you actually like introspective and like actually upgrade and like work through what's going on, even though you don't want to stay in a state of like, oh, we're like going back and forth traumatizing each other. That's why they go into separation. Like, don't make it more negative than it has to be, but there are negative emotional exchanges as much as there's positive in a twin flame connection, because first of all, those are two real humans who are still in any place in life, and when you're sort of feeling like you're communicating with somebody and they're mirroring back like certain emotions and like, oh, even though we've had different actual like life experiences, you've had these experiences I didn't have, maybe I had some kind of experience you didn't have, and like now we're both like, I don't know, it can feel like a tornado of like chaos where you're like, you know, you do anything and you're like, wait, I didn't mean it that way, now what? Like, it can put you in that state of mind where you're like, wait, now what, like actually, like, am I taking this seriously enough to where I'm not like causing more problems that don't exist, or does something need to change? Like, but I think it, without like prior to like any like communication issues or anything on other side, I think I already was like too open to seeing situational factors as like me already being like ruined, just like, oh well, why wouldn't you just date somebody who has this type of life, not my life, you know what I mean? Like, why, well, if I feel like this one thing about me is like not perfect, why wouldn't you go where there's perfect? Because on the planet there's always perfect, so like why wouldn't you just go to that instead? Like, I don't know. For example, I already had like even positive experiences where it's like, oh well, I worked for this, like well, what if what I worked really hard at to like upgrade myself, what if that's what makes me not the exact type of person you're looking for, even though you're my twin flame? So that kind of doesn't make sense. I had like 2 poetry books I had created, and it actually made me like insecure about that, because it wasn't a situation where I had like made money from them, but it wasn't just, oh, insecure like in general. I felt like it was like an accomplishment to like the normal people. But then in meeting my twin flame, I was like, if you find out that before I met you I wrote poetry books about other people, that could be something that's like, what if you simply don't like the cover art and we just met? Like, you know, what if you just want somebody who's never written a poem because they have the potential for all of that ahead of them, and maybe it ruins me that I've already done it, like that, even that. And it's like, well, actually it's not like something that really ruins people to just try to like work on their talents and stuff, but you can almost be like, technically, even though you're my twin flame, I just met you, so you could actually have anything that you're like, that you feel like you're looking for, because again, you're a whole entire other person with a whole entire other life. So you could be like, you could wake, like, it's like, oh, your twin flame could wake up tomorrow and decide like the talent that you tried to like work on is actually what ruins you for them, because anybody else in the world would not have been trying to do that. What if they want a chef, you know, like like, okay, then that's just not me. Like, it's like, yeah, that's your twin flame, but we all eat food. They might just want a chef, and that just might not be you. You might not be able to afford culinary school even if you were interested. Like, they might simply, or what if they want to go to culinary school? You know, what if your twin flame, I'm saying like in general, people could like have that feeling, right? What if your twin flame wants to go to like culinary school? Well, you don't have money for that. They don't have money for that. Oh, but they could date this other person who has money for that. And then it's like, what? Like, at the end of the day, your twin flame's a real person. So you can feel like, well, what if not having infinite money doesn't attract you, obviously, because who could that attract? Like, you know, it's like, well, I could feel like, just because I could feel like we look like we're at a similar place in life doesn't mean you feel like we're at a similar place in life, because you might be seeing things differently through a different lens, or you might not want to like see the good side of me or something. Like, it's like, by all means you have a choice, but like, a person can feel ruined by the situational things they don't get to choose. Okay, I have brown hair. What if you're really feeling like blonde hair or like purple hair right now? Like, I could dye my hair if I had money to dye my hair, but I don't. And like, maybe I would even enjoy that and have fun with that, but like, it's not like I have money to like go do that, you know what I mean? But it's like, well, what if it would be easier to be with somebody who has the money to do that and can change up like fun things about themselves more often? Like, anything can be like, in the moment you could be like, oh well, even if I'm 30 in the future, you know, I can't really look back at like my early 20s and feel like I got to try every like hairstyle I wanted to or something. It's like, maybe I don't have like a level of vanity where it matters, but I could still feel like, to somebody else, what if that's the thing that ruins me? Because what if you were gonna want to look and see all the hairstyles I had or something, because maybe that's like your type, you know what I mean? Like, it could literally be anything, and then you're like, okay, does that mean that I'm permanently ruined just over something small even? Next question. If they forgave me completely tomorrow, what part of me still wouldn't forgive myself? So, I think in a twin flame connection, like, I do think it matters to be I do think it matters to be a good person, but I think sometimes multiple years pass and then whatever they did doesn't feel as big, and maybe they're willing to forgive you too. Like a few years later, it's like, well, neither of you maybe did something, either it wasn't super bad, or it's like there's an understanding like you were probably both going through something difficult when that happened. I think if I even say one thing that sounds like a little bit mean by accident to like my twin flame, for example, it'll be like years later and I'm still thinking about it. Like, it's not like, oh, I like forgive myself like instantly. Like, I feel like what part of me still wouldn't forgive myself? Like, I feel like if I feel like I'm in the wrong, or if I feel like my twin flame thinks that I'm in the wrong, then it'll take me years to be like, what made me think of that? Like, what made me do that? Like, but I feel like I hold on to more guilt over like an intrusive thought that I didn't express than I do the actual things that I said. So like, it's so hard because you don't know why you feel compelled to like say something, but what if it's supposed to be a part of the connection? What if this is supposed to be something you guys are working through? And it's like, you can almost spiral to a place where you don't feel that grounded, where you're like, well, what if that is something I'm supposed to say because it's supposed to lead to something, but what if I'm awful if I do say it? Like, what if like it becomes like a whole entire thing where you almost are like, well, how do I know that this is not like the one moment that like puts things into perspective for both of us, but like also, wait a minute, like now I think that me saying anything that I think is a good idea means it's actually a good idea, and then it becomes a whole mess. But yeah, I think anything that I could come across as being wrong for, like, in my brain it's like magnified, and so it would just take me like my whole life to forget like one intrusive thought that I had about the connection, even if I don't say it. So if I do, it's almost like I'm trying to express like, this is what I feel like I need to work on in this, but then it's like, well, maybe you didn't need to know that. But also, if I didn't say it, I was gonna hold like 10 times the amount of guilt over it, but now I don't understand why I'm just perceiving things in like a messy way. It's not even always like just the whole thing. Having a twin flame just, it makes you even more introspective, even more looking at your own shadow. Like, even if you didn't do anything, you're like, well, I must believe that I did still do something wrong. Like, oh, what's going on? For example, I feel like if I were talking to my twin flame and I open up about some kind of trauma, like, I'll hold guilt for opening up about the trauma, even if it's in a moment where it's appropriate. Then I'll still hold like extreme amounts of like guilt for years just for talking about it or for trying to talk about it, even if it's not a situation where I feel like I'm like overdoing that, right? Even if it's like in a capacity that's like normal at the time, then it's like I'll hold guilt for that for like years again. And so because of that, then I'll also hold the same level of guilt over like an intrusive thought. Then it's like, oh, well, if you said something mean to me at some point and then I said something mean to you, then it's like I don't feel like I hold as much guilt over that. Not that I almost don't want to flip-flop those, but like it makes it feel like, what if it was self-defense when I decided to say something mean, but it's like not, because it wasn't actually that extreme, but it's like it feels like that. And then it's like so backwards. Like, why would I hold guilt over what I almost said, not what I said? That doesn't fit. That doesn't make sense. Like, that's difficult. Next question. Am I grieving the person or grieving the version of myself I became around them? Well, on the bright side, it's the person that I'm grieving. Grieving is such a heavy concept, but like, yeah, missing, not, well, that even sounds dull and heavy and a lot. All words were a little bit triggering for a long time. All words became one word in my mind and then became extremely graphic and triggering in my mind for a few years back, but for a few years out of nowhere. So I was pretty sure all words in the English language were only one word, and then just thought of that repetitively for a long time. I don't know how that happened, but yeah. Anyway, not the point, but luckily it's actually my twin flame that I am not around but wish I were around. But anyway, the version of myself, I think I hadn't been at a place where I felt like in the future it would be like an amazing connection, but I think that there were times when like really heavy energy or like jealousy would be around one or both of us, and I would just find that triggering to some astronomically uncurable, unmanageable level. I didn't have like an aura of jealousy or anything. It wasn't like that. Some people do, and some people just don't act on it, but like their entire body is like physically made out of like jealousy just materialized into a person. Like I could totally sense that and find those people triggering. But like as far as like, you know, oh, do I feel like your friend from school is somebody who you're like secretly in a relationship with, or like, you know what I mean, like jealousy, like, well, why do you want to just be my friend just so you can date somebody in front of me and like try to see how I'm gonna react to that, you know what I mean, like that sort of like distrust, like, well, why would you want to put me in that situation, like I'm gonna take it personally, like a little bit jealousy like that. I would say, but I think that's normal too. With a twin flame, people kind of like can have like black and white thinking with like, oh, well, I'm gonna take this so seriously, and like, well, you're the person I'm meant to be with, but like if you don't want exactly this, then it's not gonna work, and like it becomes like some weird thing. But I feel like the whole planet has that when it comes to twin flames, so it's not only just some of us, but it's out there. But it's also something that people who say that they have a twin flame find it notoriously impossible to deal with and manage things like that, or emotions like that, or situations like that. So yeah. Next question. Did I confuse emotional intensity with destiny? Well, not with my twin flame, but I think I felt that way before, like prior to meeting my twin flame. Like I think I did always kind of believe, like I had like a deep belief that like that people are like destined to be with a specific person. It's like I didn't say like, oh, I know who that person is, or maybe I felt like I knew, like I kind of believed in like false twin flames a little bit, but yeah, like before I kind of evolved enough to be able to like sense the difference, I would be like susceptible to believing in false twin flames, which a lot of people have experiences of before meeting the real twin flame, or after, when they're like, maybe they're the runner and they're not accepting it, and they're like, oh, maybe like it's possible that this other person could be my twin flame or something. I think a lot of things are possible. Or even after you know your real twin flame, for a minute you can still be confused and be like, well, if I believed in false twin flames, how can I trust myself? And like, I feel like I went through eras where even when I knew who my real twin flame was, like I would have so much distrust of myself because I was like, well, if I've got it wrong before, how can I possibly know that I can ever believe in myself again just for getting it wrong? It's like, well, why am I holding such a heavy penalty on myself for being wrong before? Like, lots of humans are wrong in their lives, but also people who develop psychic gifts have to sometimes have like a couple of times when they get something wrong before they get it right and actually know that they get it right. So with my real twin flame, I never ever confused emotional intensity with destiny, because I did know, like, once I knew who my real twin flame is, I never again like confused emotional intensity with destiny, because it's like, I feel like I sort of healed my my like psychic abilities in a lot of ways, because I feel like, yeah, I don't know, I had a lot to work through. So I think my initial answer would have been no. Like, I never confused emotional intensity with destiny, because I actually kind of forgot upon like reading the question, like I actually forgot that there even were false twin flames. But then like when I really like sit on the question, like I understand, like I did have like people who I believed were my twin flame who were not. But yeah, I think when you're in your own most like authentic alignment, you know why the false ones would not have worked or made sense or been the actual twin flame. So when you can sense the difference, you can't really go backwards from like truly sensing the difference the right way. It's like, once you know that like blue exists or purple exists, you don't stop believing that, because you're like, well, I've seen that before. But before you've seen that color, you might like neglect that it exists, and then you would hear about it, you'd be like, oh well, I don't believe in that. Or you might look at the color green and be like, well, isn't that blue? Like, it seems like what you're describing. Like, doesn't it seem like what you're describing? But then it's not, when you find out, oh, now I can see what blue is. So like, for example, you get what I'm saying. Next question. What moments replay in my head the most, and why those specific moments? So regarding the twin flame connection, the moments that I think would replay in my head the most would be like, for example, if my twin flame starts dating somebody else and then they know where I work and they bring that person to the place that I work at to show off and loudly introduce this person to everybody who works there, like in front of me. And then I'm not trying to like hold on to anything, but like when I'm really trying to just close my eyes and go to sleep at night, I'm like, that seemed so intentional when that happened. My twin flame decided just to, I don't know, bring a date to a place that I worked at, knowing that I worked there, seemingly knowing I would be there that day, because when was I not at the place that I worked at, right? Like, it was giving pretty much full-time, I think, working situation, and my twin flame did not work there, brought somebody, some new person, just loudly described sexual situations with and about this person to the whole entire place, the whole entire building, for a very long time. This conversation continued, and it was in detail, and it was the most like giant like performance of like every single sexual detail involving this other person. And I was like, okay, so I guess this ruined my Thursday or whatever, you know. Like, so why? I mean, I think I had newly found out this was my twin flame, but didn't say it yet. But I knew for certain that it was, and I had found out maybe like 3 or 4 weeks before that. And it was worse than finding out the zombie apocalypse happened and they ate everybody I've ever met. To have that happen, it felt very specific and chosen and targeted and controlled and planned and like, yeah. But do we all grow and move on from things? I think we do. I think we do. But why show off this specific person in front of me if what if this is like a repetitive issue with where like this one specific person is somebody who like is never gonna stop being like a problem even if I were with my twin flame? Like, it kind of sets you up for failure where you're like, well, why would I be willing to do it even though it's just my twin flame, you know? It's just the person I'm actually meant to be with. It's just that. Well, my twin flame would not show off this person if it were somebody who I'm not supposed to recognize. You know what I mean? So like clearly there would be no world where I think I would be receptive to a twin flame relationship if the people from the past who were sort of shown off, paraded around as a relationship, if those people were still around, then I wouldn't see it as respectful to myself to also be around, because otherwise it wouldn't have been so in my face, like, don't forget this person's always gonna be there, like weird. But again, that's how much a twin flame will like make you question everything. And there are sides to having a twin flame that I don't recommend, because it'll really have you like in a situation where it makes you think, it makes you really think. Like, it's not just, oh, maybe you feel immature this week. It can feel targeted and very like, whoa, like there's other businesses in my local area, you know? Like, did I have to feel that targeted in that moment? I think sometimes you never forget the way that even your twin flame makes you feel, even if usually it's a positive way, or even if you know the highest potential of it being in a positive way, there's ways where you still never forget the bad side. And like, maybe that's something that can be worked through, but there's still, and it's like, well, there's free will, but sometimes free will feels very targeted and aimed at a specific person. And when it's your twin flame, you're kind of like, well, this is like a new level of like just not being understood by somebody who feels like a person who understands me. So it's like, it's backwards. It's so confusing, honestly. And not to really tear apart my twin flame, who is my real twin flame, but it kind of goes further. I think it just means we probably had a really high capacity for being able to work through things and facing the shadow and the really bad side. But again, there's moments that make you really question, like, is this gonna even be okay? Because that was like a new low that I've never seen. Like, that was a new low that I didn't see in like my past lives. Like, that was like a new low. And, you know, twin flame, you and I died in a very traumatic way in a past life, but like, whatever. But like, this was a new low that I still had never seen beyond that. So beyond that, okay?
Okay.
I remember that as the moment that I knew, like, I cannot go back to this job, like, ever. It still probably took me like a week or two or something, or maybe like a month or like something like that to actually quit the job, because I think I just needed a minute. Well, maybe I did right away, I really don't remember, but I remember that was the moment where I was like, I can never like really go back to this job. Like, I don't remember, I think I tried to for like a few days or something, and like I just knew, like, I cannot be at a job where like my twin flame knows where I work. Like, it's not like, I'm lucky that I don't have to pay rent and have like responsibilities to uphold at this moment. Like, it would be so bad if I had to be in this emotional state working at a place where my twin flame knows that I work and can bring other people and can intentionally set me up for like what feels like extreme trauma in the middle of like a work day. Like, it actually, just because, oh yeah, you have like a right to do this, whatever, like, oh, you know some of the people here, like, okay, but there's a different level of like knowing where somebody works and then intentionally doing that. You sort of it's like a different level, because then it causes you like financial trauma, and it doesn't really go back to like the way it used to be. You're like, okay, is having a job ever gonna be fine, or is there a risk that you could like find out where I work and intentionally bring someone there just to show off like a new like just sexual like situation and describe it in detail very loudly to like every single person in the environment, knowing that you're right there, like making eye contact with you, like, oh, you're right there, I'm gonna like talk louder about this, you know what I mean? Like, make it more extreme, like for like an hour, you know, more than an hour, just a very long experience of like, just leave me alone. Like, it's not like I can walk out the door. It's not like I could be like, hey guys, can I leave? Like, they would just say no. Like, it's not like, I just remember like feeling like I should have just walked out the door that day. Like, I should have quit my job that exact moment. Like, I should have just lied and told my family I got fired and just left. Like, I really should have. Like, I did not find another job before I left that job. Like, I seriously, and this was years ago. I was like 19 when that happened, or like, yeah, 18, 19, like, I think I newly turned 19. Okay, so yeah, like, it causes a level of like financial trauma where it's like, even though we live in different like states, it's like, well, is it safe to get a job? Because what if you like even accidentally show up there now, because now I think it's like a thing, and like, you know, find out I'm there and like intentionally make some kind of problem that I have to deal with, and like, is it gonna be a problem? Like, I don't know. It's sort of like, that's your twin flame, so there's positive and negative sides to it, but you seriously start to like you just, I don't even know. You start to just like be like, I have never even seen you being the one to try to like set me up in that negative of a way. It's like, if it were somebody else, like, of course I've seen worse trauma by other people, but like, it being a certain person can be like part of why you just don't go back to normal after that. Like, you just can't believe who the person was who chose to set you up in that way and to that degree. It's like, well, why would you try to like poison me to that high of a degree? It's like, I don't know, like sometimes the person you're looking at is too familiar. Even if they're your twin flame, you're like, well, you're the one who made a choice that I don't even know like how this can go back to normal. It's like in 10 years I would still remember the way that felt, you know, in 30 years I would still remember the way that felt. It's the kind of story you tell like just as like, I can't believe I made it through that terrible thing that happened, not, oh yeah, that was my twin flame, you know what I mean? Like it sets you back. It sets you back and makes you wonder, like, we're not that evolved, are we? Like, I thought I was doing everything I could to just be evolved as a person. Like, I don't know what happened, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Twin flames, there's really, because that is an entirely separate person at the end of the day, even though it's not, and it is in such a way where it still can, like, having a twin flame and that connection, that person can still cause you like so many different kinds of trauma, and that does include if you have like worked somewhere and you're in a twin flame separation, if they know where you work, like you can feel like just antagonized, I guess, or like I don't even know how to explain it, like as if they were journaling and they're like, how can I cause this person like the maximum amount of trauma, like how can I make sure they want to die today, like how can I cause financial trauma so this person's never going to go back to normal for like years of their life, and like how is this person never gonna be okay ever again? Like they can literally like sit there and try to ruin your life. Just because it is your actual twin flame doesn't mean they think ahead. It doesn't mean they think of you as like maybe a real person in the moment. It does not mean that maybe I just wasn't meant to be working there, but it doesn't really change the way I found out about that. Like, just, I think twin flames do trigger you, and it's like, it's not like a gun was pointed at me, you know what I mean? It's like a lesser degree of trauma than that. But it's like, this has to be the person who is willing to do that. That's the person who is willing to, like, just how is that somebody who I could have like any level of trust for again? It's not just about like, oh, you're like dating someone new, like that's great, like good for you. Like it's not the same thing when they bring them into what's supposed to be like your sacred space, but also a work environment. Like you have an imbalance of power there where like you don't get to leave. You don't get to be like, oh, something extremely traumatizing just happened, like let me clock out, you know what I mean? It's like there's an imbalance of power where they're the customer who gets to do whatever they want at this like establishment. You know, they get to loudly show off and talk about things and have all of the other employees be like, wow, that's so interesting, like tell me more about that, you know what I mean? Like there is such an imbalance of power where it's like they put you in this situation where you're kind of like their servant, where it's like you're just there to do your job and whatever, and like you still have to do your job even when they know that they're traumatizing you. It's not about me being so special that my twin flame doesn't date other people during a separation, like that's bound to happen. But when you feel like your sacred like space is invaded to a degree where like you're like, well, it's not like I can like make money or feel like that is ever gonna be like something that I can like do anyways, but now it's like at a higher degree where it's like every second I still have to know that anything could happen. It really does traumatize you and trigger you. So I don't understand or know why the connection was pushed to like that far of a level just because it's a twin flame some things still feel like I wish it were off limits for you to intentionally cause me this degree of trauma. But that doesn't mean they don't have free will. So, be willing to have a twin flame at your own expense, because it's not going to be in a safer or better way. So maybe don't. Because maybe they don't care about you. Maybe they're going to intentionally. And it's not like he didn't know where I worked, because he had worked there before with me. Then unfortunately was fired due to, I'm not going to get all the way into it. That work environment, there were, I'm not going to say like who and whatever, or even like the type of situation. That was when I worked at Chili's, okay? That's what it is. So the managers there allowed a very extreme degree of like people in like positions of power trying to like sexually harass like other employees. And so yeah, so it was not my twin flame who was doing that to people, but it was people trying to like sexually harass him and other employees. And then essentially he was like standing up like against it, and there was sort of like some kind of altercation because of standing up against it, and then that led to him being fired, which is just a serious extreme imbalance of power. So I understand why I was not the first thing on his mind when he came into that environment again, because there were other triggers in the environment, and I should have still quit at some point after that, because that's a crazy, like, I can recognize now that's a crazy thing to know about and then still work there as an employee. But I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of like, well, I have to make money somehow, and like normal life stuff, I guess, and like, wow, that's crazy that happened. But like I wasn't putting two and two together really. And so it also makes it like not his fault that he was not thinking of me when he went into that environment. So I don't fully like blame him at all. It's just that like I also felt traumatized by the part that I felt victimized by, I guess. But like in reality, like I should have just left the environment the first time all the bad stuff was happening, and when I witnessed like my actual twin flame go through a level of trauma for standing up against first of all, literal violence, standing up against violence, and standing up against sexual harassment in the workplace of like himself and other people. And that's what he was fired for. That's extreme. That's extreme. For Chili's to be in that bad of a situation, and for that to be what employees get fired for. Like really good employees get fired for that. So of course, like with the whole entire picture, it would be so selfish for me to like actually blame him, which is why I don't. It's just a trigger. It's like I can understand the connection, and also life just got pushed to a very like triggering like degree. It does not mean that I'm holding it against my twin flame in any way for like forgetting I worked there, already being triggered by the environment, wanting to talk about something that felt empowering in the moment, right? Like it's not just all about me. Like that's not what I'm trying to say either. It's just I think at some point in time we each probably felt like that there were financial triggers in that environment, or like financial insecurity, and that just came from different sources and maybe like in different isolated moments. But like yeah, a lot of things happen. I don't know. And I just want to say that in 2026, like a lot of the time, to say that somebody had to stand up for, I mean like against violence, sexual harassment, and sexual violence and anything like that in a workplace in the United States, in Florida, like it sounds very extreme, and it sounds fake because it sounds like, oh, nothing like that could ever be going on. But the reality is, during the COVID pandemic in like 2020 or 2021, like these were very real problems working at Chili's in Florida, in Pinellas County. These were very serious, very severe, real things that were happening in the workplace, in the environment. It was on grounds at the location, not outside. It was indoors, inside the Chili's location, that these events were taking place. And so that's what my twin flame was standing up against. And that's why he was fired, like, the same day that he tried standing up against that. Which is, again, so extreme that it sounds fake, because it sounds like the kinds of things that don't happen, but it did happen. And so, yeah, I guess part of the video is that I don't know, maybe somebody needed to hear it. These are extreme, real situations that happen, and that have happened, and that people in the United States, in Florida, in Pinellas County, still get fired for, at least as recent as 2021 or 2020, around then. As recent as that, people were getting fired for standing up against violence and against sexual harassment, because the establishments do nothing to prevent it or stop it from happening or to fix problems or anything like that, or to fire the people who are the actual offenders of it. That was not the priorities of Chili's by any means. So, yeah. Anyway, this is a heavy video. I'm gonna let the actual video be over. That's a lot to put out there, a lot of energy, but this video is for whoever needs to hear it. I feel like I put a lot of really good information, really strong, helpful information into it, but it's also like really heavy, so I'm gonna let this video be its own chapter right here and just say bye. Love you guys. I hope that whoever needed to hear this received the message that these are just real events that are still happening on the planet. Again, in the United States, in Florida, and in Pinellas County, still happening. So, anyway, I love you guys. Goodbye. Be safe. Be safe.
They can't tell me what to do. There's caffeine on the house, it's active, radioactive. Loving you felt like dying on the operating table, like climbing a ladder till I give up and fall. Like the anesthesia didn't work, and I feel the creation of every scar. Like a movie I'm chained to.
Wait, really quick, guys, I have to tell you about my GoFundMe for my music career. I have a GoFundMe for my music career starting from $0, raising money for ads to grow my audience and to reach record labels. If things grow, then I will eventually be using that money to turn my YouTube demos into full professional real recordings, and help me to go as far as possible. I bet if you guys will do your best to help me and to invest, you guys could probably turn me into the biggest pop star in the world. It's just going to really depend on how much you guys are willing and able to help me, so please do what you can to help, and I love you. Mwah. Bye.
I have 1 penny to buy this iced coffee, but this is everything you gave me. How did you know the gum on the ground was yours if you've never seen it before? There are no refunds for this part of me. Don't forget where you were when we met. I wanted to be liquidated, but they haven't found me yet. I'll spell it out for you when I'm free. There's disrespect in the water and the liquor can.